Greetings guitar players, my name's Jack Jennings, and in this video you're going to see part of a Zoom class that I was doing with a few students. I've started something called the Indian Classical Guitar Academy, where I just get together small groups and we go through all the details of the music. So enjoy the rest of this video and it'll just give you a little insight into how things work in my group sessions. So take care and I'll see you on another video. Yeah, so Raag Tarakeshi will be something nice just to refresh the practice. The reason that it's a good scale to do just for now is that it's one that just moves all the way through. So Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa, and Sa, Ni, Da, Pa, Ma, Ga, Re, Sa on the way down. So it moves through all of the 7 notes. So you don't have to worry too much about jumping over notes, pardon me, or having a different ascending and descending structure. We will get onto Raags that have a bit more of a complex structure to them, but in the beginning it's really nice just to have a little bit more of a simple structure that we can start to apply some different exercises to. So for example, there's different exercises on the Central Techniques course that you could easily just apply to different scales. So there's one in Raag Kafi which we're going to look at a little bit later, but there's also just very simple ones like I would really recommend that. There's something really good about this exercise. It's not the most interesting thing to play if you're actually jamming and making music. It's not the most interesting thing to play, but as a practice tool, it just really sorts everything out. There's a lot of players, including myself until fairly recently, that can't actually do that. That this particular pattern, it's really easy for it just to fall by the wayside. So if you can do it, I think it really puts your technique in a different place.
That's interesting.
Because everything's very synchronized and very regular, and you're doing threes with the twos of the down up down up down up. So you've got that like down up down up down up down up down up down up. So in Kafi, it's ga re sa ma ga re pa ma ga da pa ma ni da pa sa ni da re sa ni. So that's how you would have heard it in the course. I think we started it in the course. It started with sa ni da, but you can start it anywhere really. So I'll just start with ga re sa in this case. So let me just show you the notes of it and then we'll do a little exercise. So this is a little bit of a departure, but it's just nice to play a different scale sometimes. So Raag Charukeshi, the first 5 notes, so the Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, are just the same that you'd find in a major scale. And it's just the 6th note and the 7th note that are flattened, so they would be called Kormal Da and Kormal Ni in the Sargam system. So those notes they're pretty easy to find because they're just on the 2 dots here. So if you're in the low register, it would be 3 and 5, and in the high register it's 15 and 17 on those 2 dots. And then you've got Sa on the 3rd dot on fret 19 as always. So if I just play through the whole progression, we've got Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, and then the Kormal Da, Kormal Ni, Sa. Okay, so I guess everyone's got the major scale. Does everyone just know the Shuddha notes? These are the unaltered notes, yeah. And so you're just adding Ni, Da, Ni, Sa. So it's a nice character to the scale because it sets itself up so it sounds like it's just a major scale, but then it ends with the two notes that you'd find in the minor scale. So it just seems to kind of turn a corner at the end of the scale, but it still somehow feels really right. It doesn't sound like an unwelcome surprise. It sounds like, you know, a kind of natural. And that the more you play that, it just has a lot of balance to it. How are you doing, John?
Good, certainly. Is there an equivalent in Western music? It's scale.
No, I mean there's sort of jazz scales that might use a bit of this, but it belongs to the melodic minor family of modes, modal scales. I think do you know a bit about modes, John? So yeah, so the idea of a mode is, for example, you have a scale, and if you always started on the same note, then that would give you one scale. But if the tonic changed, so instead of having I can show this with a tempura actually. So if I've got the tempura going on D, then Charukeshi, that becomes the scale that you're going to hear. Whereas if the tempura was playing like C, for example, so now Sa has become C down at the 5th fret. Now if I play the same scale, so I'm going to play the same notes that I played for Charukeshi in D, but now the center of gravity is C, so you're hearing everything from the relationship of C as the tonic. So now that's a different scale. So what you're sort of hearing in terms of how your mind sort of processes the scale, now this is Sa, so now the C, which was previously a Cornwall Ni, now this is Sa. So it sounds like Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, which is a like raised fourth, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa. So this might be a bit of an information overflow, but this is it's be called Raag Vachaspati, which is a very unusual rag that you don't hear very often. It's really only used much in South India. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. In Western music we would relate that to the Lydian mode. It's like Lydian dominant scale. So this is the idea of modes, that I'm using the same fret numbers, but it's just the fact that the drone has changed. In Western music that could just be that a different chord is being played, or the bass player has just shifted to a different note and they're holding a different note. So all of the notes have now, the relationship to the tonic has changed, and that's created different possibility of tonality. So every different note could become the tonic, and then that would create different modal scales. So in terms of Western music, this Charukeshi, which I'll go back to now, Charukeshi. So now we're back on Sa, D, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa. Now we're back into Charukeshi. So in Western music that would be part of the melodic minor scale, but there's no direct kind of name for that scale that's commonly used in Western music, because it's not commonly found. There isn't enough repertoire in that scale for it to really have a name. But it's cool, because the thing I like about Indian music is that these modes, these scales that in Western music they only really exist as a kind of mathematical possibility. They are used in jazz and maybe in some psychedelic rock situation, but they're only really kind of part of a mathematical framework of modal possibilities. Whereas in Indian music they actually have a real contextual significance, and there'll be compositions, you know, there'll be a rag, there'll be many compositions, there'll be a phrasing structure, and there'll be, you know, recordings of many different fantastic musicians playing that scale and developing the language around that scale. So it's not just a strange little thing that you might hear some jazz musician doing as a little experiment one night. It's actually a fully fleshed out integral part of that musical culture. So that's the really refreshing and interesting thing about Indian classical music, in a sense that there's so much material with these unusual scales that are otherwise kind of just weird little entities that live on the edge of jazz. You see what I mean? I've just started something called the Indian Classical Guitar Academy, and this is a group that I do with other students on Zoom. We get together in just groups of 4, so there's lots of time to give people feedback and to go through the details and look at how everyone's progressing. I've just started the first group with some students, and it's been getting off to a really, really good start. So that's something that I'm going to carry on doing and expand into more groups. So please get in touch if you'd like to join one of these future groups. There's only a few spaces available. So yeah, just jump on and send me an email if you'd like to find out about how to join that group, because it's proving to be a really good way for people to go a bit deeper into this style and get some feedback on their playing and then really move things forward. So looking forward to seeing more students on the Zoom sessions, and yeah, take care, and I'll see you on another video.